A lot of contractors focus on just getting the job, and then when they get the job, they start the job, and then shit falls apart, right? Does that sound like you? I mean, if you've gone through that, you've experienced it at least once in your life, and you understand that this happens. It naturally happens, and the reason it happens is because you probably are not asking enough questions. You're not learning enough in the discovery phase in order for you to make, the proper movements throughout the project when you start.
Welcome to the Onsite Podcast. We chat with contractors, educators, industry professionals about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's fucking get into it.
Welcome back to the Onsite Podcast, episode 7 of the 8-part series. If you've been following along, I hope you've gathered some value. I hope you learned something about gaining control on your projects and on your sites. Today, we're going to jump into why jobs get stressful after they start. Okay, a lot of contractors focus on just getting the job, and then when they get the job, they start the job, and then shit falls apart, right? Does that sound like you? I mean, if you've gone through that, you've experienced it at least once in your life, and you understand that this happens. It naturally happens, and the reason it happens is because you probably are not asking enough questions. You're not learning enough in the discovery phase in order for you to make, the proper movements throughout the project when you start. So I'm excited to dig into this with this episode. Remember, if you've been enjoying this, I need you to share this with your people, share it on your socials, and you can literally find us on anything. We are on literally every platform. So appreciate you supporting the podcast, and I'm excited to dig into this with you today. So let's just say hypothetically that, you're comfortable with your sales process and you get to a point in the project that you now win this project, okay? That's assuming that your sales process works. If it doesn't, we can help you with that. But assuming that your sales process is, good enough to get you the job, that part felt okay. But now you've actually gotten the job and shit starts to feel like it's falling apart. The client's starting to ask you about this, and you forgot to add this and you didn't add that, and oh, what about this, and why is this price changing, and what's going on over here? The reason all those things start to happen is because you didn't ask enough qualifying questions to help you build out a proposal that truly fits exactly what they're looking for. You're entering into things. You got to stop blaming the clients. Okay, you guys got to stop blaming the clients, saying that these are all the reasons why things are falling apart. These are all the reasons why, you're losing control or you're not able to gain, direction on these projects. It's because you didn't ask the right questions. All right, so the place that I've noticed, the patterns that I've noticed with the people that I get to work with when they start to, really start to feel that struggle and that, breakdown of control on site is generally within, the first, right after the first payment is made. So you get your deposit to start the job, then you get your second, draw where you're progressing because they're paying you for progress. Sometimes in that situation, that draw is hard because they don't see the value in what you're doing. They don't believe that you're actually capable of bringing this to the finish line. And this is actually the easiest part of these projects, the initial part where you're doing the rough in phase, or you're doing the demo, or you're doing, the tear out. And maybe you've already captured money in order to do that, which is great. If you've done that, that's great. That means you've got, a project framework that you manage, your draws. But when clients have to give up money for a service and they feel like they've lost confidence in you, this is when shit starts to fall apart. When they're asking for those changes and when they're asking for these different elements, it's because they have literally lost confidence in your ability to complete the job. And now they're in this weird predicament too, where you've, ripped apart their house, or you've done whatever it might be, and they just feel completely uncomfortable and lost with what their next move is. So after you, get your contract signed, you get all your paperwork figured out. If you've got all that stuff, if you don't, you should really get it. Contracts save your life and they save your business and the client's sanity and their bank accounts. But what happens is, you work through this process, you work so hard to get this job, and things start to crumble when, ink hits the paper, so to speak. And potentially even before that, after that, it's starting to crumble because the client is concerned about all of these different elements, and they're coming back at you with questions about, hey, like, what kind of trim are we going to be using? Or like, how many coats of paint are we going to be doing? Are we going to be, drywalling this wall? Are we going to be drywalling that wall? Are we going to be painting this over here? Are we going to be, installing flooring in here? I thought we were tiling to the ceiling. I thought we were adding in all new windows, not just 3 windows. So like when your descriptions and your scope of work that are on this contract, that are on these documents, that are on your proposal don't match the actual work that is being performed, you're going to lose control. And so it's really important that you treat these proposals. The reason I like a detailed breakdown is because a detailed breakdown gives the clients clarity, it gives them a roadmap, and it gives them the ability to understand. It also gives you a blueprint on what you're about to do. If there's no drawings, right? Sometimes even with drawings, you still run into these problems because the drawings are missing hidden elements. And as the contractor, you're expected to figure out all these hidden elements. So really having a crystal clear roadmap is like, it needs to be a non-negotiable, because every time you have had a problem where you've lost control on site, it has probably come from a lack of communication. And this is an ego thing that you have to own, right? You have to actually say to yourself, I didn't communicate very well in this situation, and this is why we're in this boat. And you're not going to say that to your client. Most likely you're not going to say that to your client because, then you're going to own the incompetence. But really what it comes down to is understanding where you could have gotten better and improve. And so this is why when you start a business early on, you get small little opportunities, right? You get small jobs, you do the job. That's a win. You take that job, you get another job, and so on and so forth. And so you get these small little opportunities along the way to learn, grow, and develop. Those clients then are not knowing, but knowing that they're taking a risk because you're early on with their, with their services. And so you continue to progress along, right, and do this service, and it allows you to refine your process. And that's really important, is like, that you understand that all of these things are all avoidable. Like every time I hear somebody complain about something, about a struggle, about a challenge, about a problem, about a bad client, it is all a reflection on yourself. Like it's all a reflection on you. You're the business owner. You have to gather control of your business. That's why we put this series together, is that you can understand what is necessary for you to gain control of your business, for you, for your family, so that you can ultimately be successful. And also for your clients, so that they can have a great experience.
Hey, we've got an ad here. Make sure to pay attention. What's up, guys? Are you a contractor or business owner looking to take things to the next level? Well, I've got something for you. The Elite Builder Society is a community that helps contractors grow and scale. For $49 a month, you can have access to 20 group coaching calls. Look, you're probably wondering, how am I going to show up to 20 calls, Brandon? That's a lot. And yeah, it is a lot for $49 a month, but every call is recorded so you can watch it at your leisure. But you get the best experience when you're live on the call with us. Okay, at the end of every webinar, there will be a Q&A where you can ask the industry expert questions that you can implement into your business. Look, if you're ready to take things to the next level for $49 a month, go to ebsworks.com and register today. I look forward to seeing you inside the community.
So now let's say that we're evaluating, who you should strive to become. What is an organized, strong, confident contractor? Okay. They're probably using a construction management software. They probably have a virtual assistant that keeps them organized, because when you started your business, depends on who you are, but when you started your business, you probably were in the field at some point and you were working for somebody and you thought, I'm better than this. I'm going to go on my own, because you're only looking at surface level shit. You don't look at all the administrative, communicative, necessary elements that dictate whether or not you're a successful contractor or a shitty contractor. And I can promise you that stuff is really hard. Right. And so surrounding yourself with people that can do things that you can't do will ultimately make you better. So, using a great software like JobTread. JobTread is our featured construction management software. They just cracked 10,000. Probably when this is being aired, it'd just be over 10,000. And they announced it at IBS. And, what a great place to announce this incredible software. And why is it incredible? Why do we need this? Well, this type of software that a good contractor would be using allows them to control their schedules, control the money, control the descriptions, control all of these elements that they are trying to, provide clarity for the client, trust and authority with the client. JobTread allows you to build this interface and communication platform between the client and between the subs, suppliers, vendors, and yourself, so that you can A, see that you're profitable, B, organize and build a true schedule, C, have great contracts, and D, ultimately end up with success and profit at the end of the project. If you have a happy project or a happy client with a happy project, your bank account should generally reflect that. If you don't have any of those things together, your bank account probably will reflect a loss on that job, and you will then start to struggle. And then incorporating the virtual assistant, have somebody that can integrate the software, communicate with your clients, gather this data and this information so that you can truly, move forward. Another good thing, this is a pro tip. This is a serious pro tip, so you're going to want to write this one down. When you're estimating your projects, okay, there are all kinds of AI recording tools out there. You want to AI record the entire conversation. and it's going to transcribe and create a transcription of that conversation between you and your client. That is going to be basically the safety net that encapsulates everything that they talked about getting, so that when they come to you and say, hey, I actually asked for this. Well, I mean, you didn't, because this is the recording from the conversation. I didn't get that anywhere in that meeting. Maybe they asked you at another point, but it's important for you to document things, right? It's very important for you to document things. And if you're busy on site doing all the work, which is what you know how to do potentially, then it's really hard for you to organize yourself and be efficient. And this is not it's not rocket science. Once you understand how X, Y, and Z works together, it is just something that doesn't turn off. It is a muscle memory that you will just continue to repeat, refine, and make better. So if you suck at all this shit, right? If you're not doing a good job, if you're losing control, if you're not communicating, if the client's having a bad experience, it is going to greatly impact your referrals. Now, let's think about it. Anybody that plays hockey or has played hockey, at a higher level, I'm going to use this as an example, then I'm going to come back to this, why it impacts referrals. Consider the job, the opportunity, just like a puck. Okay. And anybody that I coach, you've heard this analogy before. So, you can reiterate it however you choose, but you work so hard to get the puck on your stick, right? You go through training, you're preparing, you're going through evaluations, trials, practice, hours, weeks, months, years, days, to gather the confidence to get that puck on your stick, or the ability to get the puck on your stick. And then you're now faced with an opportunity to score. Okay. And so scoring means you put the puck in the net. You know what I mean? You put the puck in the net, and that is very similar to a completed project. But now what is different about this part is scoring again, doing it again. And the only way you're going to do it again is by getting a referral. And you work so hard for that. Why would you just take the shittiest shot? Why would you take a shitty shot if you knew that you worked so hard? And in this moment, the difference between me getting this in is getting another project, or getting it out is failing. That's what most people struggle to really realize, is that they do jobs to just do jobs. You need to do a job to exceed your client's expectation and to get a 5-star review. There was no point in doing all that work. There was no point in, meeting the client in the evening. There was no point in trying to strategize and build up the estimate. There was no point. Just because you were getting paid is one reason, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is sustainability, and sustainability is built off exceeding your client's expectations. And so most contractors don't understand that they are actually doing a job to get a successful story, right? You solve the problem for the client, the money will follow. You create a new problem for a client, the problems will continue to follow. So the cost of fucking all this up, right? The cost of losing control is there's an end in it. You stop getting work. People stop calling you. Your phone stops ringing. Your family loses confidence in you. Your kids lose confidence in you. Your friends lose confidence in you. You start to sacrifice your personal health, and you start to fail. And it's true, because I've gone through some of those stages in my life. I've gone through that uncertainty, the unknown. When I first got into construction, for the first 5 years, it was literally misery. I had nobody to talk to. I had no group. I had no mentor. I had no coach. That shit didn't exist. There was no social media. I just had to go figure it out every day. And I think the cost to failure here is, your life at the end of the day. Most people are willing to burn the boats, so to speak, to build their business and to be successful in their business. But they ultimately also are willing to avoid the necessary tasks, necessary stages that they need to, perform in order to be successful. And so the emotional cost to all of this is your life at the end of the day. So I want to reassure you that, if you feel like every job you're doing is stressful, every job you're doing is frustrating, every job you're doing is a problem, every client's complaining, all these things are happening, it's okay. It's okay, because that's data for you to make improvements. That's data for you to make corrections. That's data for you to make a forward direction on improving the problems that exist. The best contractors lower their ego and are forward thinkers. Okay. They are focused on improving the things that are falling apart. They're focused on hearing their clients. They're focused on that outcome. So you can get through this. I promise you can get through this. You just have to take control. You have to get control of your business. Look, I have made myself available to so many people for free at times, because I feel for them. I remember when, I originally started my business, how fucking hard and how painful it was. I didn't understand how to generate leads. I didn't understand how to market. I didn't understand, how to operate. I didn't understand how to manage my time. I didn't understand how to build a business. And slowly but surely, I went through some big shit, and I was forced to, really to understand what was going on. Fortunately, social media wasn't around. So a lot of my tools, originate from just boots on the ground shit. And I can reassure you that you can do it too, because there are so many people around you that have transformed from living the exact same life you're living. We work with them every day. So the bigger picture here is that, your project delivery ultimately ties back to the success and the control of your project. If you have an organized, systematic strategy on site that manages your client and takes the pulse, I call it the client pulse. If you're managing and maintaining your client's pulse throughout the entirety of that project with the end goal of getting that review, of having that happy client, then you will compound success stories. You will compound opportunities. You will compound wins, and you will gain control of your opportunities. But if you continue to do the same thing incorrectly, day in and day out, you will continue to go down the wrong path. But if you do something wrong and you find somebody like myself or somebody in my community or somebody, right, to gather insight and direction, you'll regain control.
What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Onsite Podcast. So here's the deal. We want to grow this show and we need your help. It's simple. Pay the tax, share the show. That's it. Let's get back into it.
So I just want to, touch on this. We're coming up. We're on episode 7 of this 8-part series, which has been incredible. It's been exciting. And, if you haven't listened to the other episodes and you're just landing on this one, please go back to episode 1 and start through it. We've got a lot of, great conversations that have taken place throughout this entire thing. And it's been a great lesson for me too. It's free information. Like literally it's free information that you can implement into your business so you can help gain control of the opportunities, gain control of your life, gain control of your family, gain control of your business. And still, even with all of this free information, most people won't do it. Most people aren't willing to do what is necessary to be successful. And success doesn't always need to mean that you're rich. It needs to mean that you're comfortable, that you feel clarity, that you're happy, that you're fulfilled, that your family is smiling. Like that is what success is. And all that you have to do is the fucking work. I have this phrase that I say all the time: take action. The unfortunate reality is most people aren't willing to take action. I've learned this because, when I first got into the coaching space a couple of years ago, I did a little bit of a data poll, and I was like, oh, there's 600,000 people that, need help. 600,000 businesses out there that want to improve. Most of them don't. If you look around you, the people that are grinding it out just like you, they probably don't have any support, any mentorship, any guidance in their lives. They're doing it all alone. And you're listening to this right now. You could be a part of that small group of people. So I've just given you free, right? Seven steps on how to gain control of your projects for free. And imagine what my experience or my services would be like if you paid for me. Right now, fortunately, I'm fully booked with clients. So I'm building a wait list, and I have other coaches in my community. And so, there are always people that are out there to help you. All you have to do is pick up the phone. You can just shoot me a DM. I will always respond. Either myself or one of my assistants will respond. But at the end of the day, it's like, look around you. The bigger picture here, the reality is that most people aren't willing to do the things that need to be done in order to be successful. But you could be that person right now today. You could literally be that person. You could go to our website. You could, register for one of our group calls for free. Come to our Friday Q&A. It's a great conversation. You'll learn something. You'll see what it's like. My community is literally only $49 a month. We've got some great guests coming up on this podcast, and I'm super excited for, some of the new contractors that we're working with, some of the older contractors that we've been working with, some of our hub hosts, some of the presenters, and then just some industry icons. We've got some great episodes coming up here in the future. And if you share the show, right, we'll get more traction. We'll get more growth. We have one more episode 8 coming up. Okay. That's going to be live next week. And episode 8 is going to tie everything together. It's going to help you fully understand what you have to do at the beginning. We're going to recap basically everything. We're going to recap right from the beginning to the end. We're going to tie everything together about how you're truly trying to run a successful construction business. Your time is now to make an impact. Your time is now to make a change. It's 2026. Okay. Whether you're in Canada, the United States, or wherever you may be, there are listeners from all over the world on here, which is wild. The amount of people that are listening to this, it's wild. The amount of countries that are tuning in today. And so if you're listening to this right now, wherever you may be, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting what we're doing here. And I'm thankful for you. Definitely, make sure to go give us a subscribe on YouTube and to share the show, because in order for us to be successful in this industry, running a podcast, we have no paid sponsors. We need you to share the show. So I'm thankful for you. That is a wrap for episode 7. Next week, episode 8 will be dropping, and I cannot wait. Cheers. Have a great day. All right, that concludes this episode of the Onsite Podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed this episode, please pay the tax, share the show. Guys, if you want to be a part of the Elite Builder Society, all you got to do is pay $49 a month. That's it. $49 a month. You get 20 group coaching calls every month. Okay? Go to ebsworks.com and register today. If you enjoyed the show, please pay the tax and share the show.